Hello, I'm Scott Flowers with Cloud Ninjas, and today we're here to talk about Dell Precision T3600 memory upgrade kits and how to properly load and configure the system. Well, thanks for stopping by today to learn a little bit more about the Dell Precision T3600 Workstation. Do us a favor, if you find anything useful today, hit that like and smash that subscribe. Well, let's get started. First things first, this is a one CPU socket system. It can use Intel Xeon E5 1600 or E5 2600 V1 series CPUs. No, you can't use V2 unfortunately, and this is an LGA 2011 socket for the CPU. It utilizes DDR3 memory, and there are 4 DIMM slots inside. There's a couple of different speeds that you can use. You can go as low as 1066 megahertz, 1333, or all the way up to 1600. There's a couple sizes you can use. You can use 2 gig, 4 gig, 8 gig, or all the way up to 16 gig. However, if you want to use 16 gigs, you do have to use ECC Registered, which on that note, there are 3 types of memory that you can put inside. Very rare that I see a system that can take 3 types. Normally it's 2. I guess there's a bunch of servers that do take technically RDIMMs and Registered and Unbuffered, but for this specific machine, it takes ECC Registered, also known as RDIMM, and also takes ECC Unbuffered, which is more of a server UDIMM, and it also takes Non-ECC Unbuffered, which is your typical desktop module. So let's go through each one. So for the ECC Register, which is what we recommend, you can max out at 64 gigabytes using 4 16 gigs at 1600 megahertz. With the ECC Unbuffered, you can use a total of 32 gigabytes using 4 8 gigs, also at 1600 megahertz. And non-ECC Unbuffered, your traditional desktop module, is the same, and it's going to be 32 gigabytes max at 4 by 8 gigs at 1600 megahertz. Okay, so now we know a little bit more about the system itself. Let's hop inside. Let's show you how to actually load them, how you get to the modules, and all that good stuff. Before we do, I'm going to grab my ESD gear. Really, it's always best to be safe when you're inside to prevent the machine from getting electrostatic discharge. That little shock you get when you run your socks across the carpet can damage the machine. So here's what I recommend if you don't have ESD at home, because a lot of people are using this as a gaming machine at their house or as their traditional desktop. So what I recommend is one, if you can open this without being on carpet, on just a table or a desk, or really anything that's not carpet, that'll be very, very helpful, especially like that the old school shaggy carpet. That'll get you a ton of ESD. And I also recommend if you have a piece of metal, copper in particular, if you touch that, it'll actually help discharge some of the ESD that's on your hands to, again, just help protect the machine. A couple little things that you can do at your house if you don't have ESD gear. But anyhow, I'm going to grab mine. I'll be right back. All right, now that I have my ESD gear on, I am safe to open the machine. Before I do, one other thing I would like to note about the different types that we were talking about. If you, let's say, have desktop RAM in here right now, your traditional non-ECC, and you wanted to upgrade your machine and you were looking at registered, you cannot mix the modules. So you need to either have all registered, all ECC Unbuffered, or all non-ECC Unbuffered. So just a quick note, because people do try to mix modules. If you mix speeds, it'll just clock down to the lowest and you can get away with it, which we don't recommend, but you cannot mix types. So just a quick note for anyone out there that was thinking about upgrading their machine, just make sure you're not mixing the wrong types of modules together. Anyhow, so now we're going to open it up. Simple, just like anything else. You're just going to pop this tab right here. The top comes off, like just pretty much any desktop you've ever really worked on. Now that we are in, you can see quite a bit more about what we were talking about. You got your one CPU socket. You have your 4 DIMM slots right here. You have your video card. You have where you put all your hard drives up here. Very, very simple. So overall, that's how you would do everything. I'm going to focus on the memory modules for you because this is obviously what is important. So as we said, there's 4 DIMM slots. One of the things that's nice is that each DIMM slot is actually its own channel, which is pretty cool. So they're all going to be white tabs. If they were different channels, it might be white, black, and then white, black, and there might be, say, 2 channels. But there's actually 4 channels. So that being said, the proper way to configure this, if you were only putting in, let's just say, 2 DIMMs, you're going to want to put it in DIMM 1 on the outside over here and DIMM 2 on the outside over here, okay? If you have it loaded like it is right now, then you'll be DIMM 1, DIMM 2, DIMM 3, and then DIMM 4 on the inside over here. So I'm going to show you how to remove the current modules that are in here. These are some 4 gig sticks. We're actually going to be putting in some 16 gig ECC registered and maxing this out at 64 gigabytes. So I'm going to show you how easy it is to remove the modules. One of the things that I always do when I'm removing modules, I like to put my hand over the top of it before I start pushing the tabs, because the modules can fly up, and you don't want the module to fly up and potentially damage the board or damage the module itself, because, you know, hey, some of these old modules still have some resale value, which, by the way, if you have some old modules laying around that you are interested to sell, you can always reach out to our buyback program, which is just buyback at cloudninjas.com, and we're always interested to buy old modules, buy old machines. Generally we want them in bulk, but it's just something that if you're interested and you have some stuff laying around, you can always message us. So, all right, so as I said, I like to put my hands over them, keep them from popping up all crazy, and then you're simply going to pull them out pretty easy, really, okay? Now, if you don't have like this ESD map, how we have here at home, I definitely recommend putting them directly into the trays, but for the sake of time, I'm just putting them on our ESD map. So, all right, now I'm going to show you something real quick that is very important. So this is a 16 gig Samsung module that we're about to put in. You will notice right here there is a notch in the middle of these leads. This notch is also known as a key. This key is very important because this prevents users from putting in the wrong type of module, but it's also important because on the DIMM slot itself, there's a plastic piece in the middle. So if you line it up wrong, then you can potentially damage the DIMM itself or damage the motherboard. So neither are what people want, because if you damage the motherboard, then obviously you're gonna have to replace the motherboard. If you damage the DIMM, then you're gonna have to buy another DIMM. So just simple things to make your life easy. Another thing I always like to do is make sure your tabs are always open, which mine are, just because I had just finished taking out the other modules. And if, as we talked about, if you're only putting in 2, you need to make sure you do the 2 outside, the 1 and the 2. And Dell has labeled it on the motherboard as well to make it easier. For me, since I'm actually loading it all the way up, I'm going to start on the inside because it's kind of a tight squeeze, and I don't like to put one on the outside and then try to put one on the inside. Just makes it a little bit tougher. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how we install it. So you're just going to line it up properly, okay? And you're going to notice that the module is it's sitting down right now, and it looks like it's seated, but it's not fully seated. The tabs are still sticking out. So you want to hear this right here, this click, that nice little click. That click just lets you know that the module is now actually fully seated. We hear it all too often that a customer thinks they have a DIMM that has an error, and really it's just that the module is not fully seated. So voila, just like that, you can easily load all the modules up, and it really doesn't take much time at all. You could really knock this out in 1 to 2 minutes and knock out the whole thing. So anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and close her back up because we're done, and it was really just that easy. So you just want to make sure that you put the top back on, just line it up, and lift this top back up, and boom, it's sitting nice and flush. So if you need any upgrades yourself for the Dell Precision T3600, do us a favor and reach out to sales@cloudninjas.com. That's sales@cloudninjas.com. We would love to help you out. And if you made it this far, hey, do us a favor, click that like and smash the subscribe. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good day.